So, a very good morning, all of you. So, welcome to the first class of Sociology. So, it's a very beautiful morning as well. I think all of you enjoyed your Sunday and Monday's rain as well. Did it rain here? Here also? It's a very mild rain. It's like a very positive sign for our class as well. The very first class of Sociology. So, firstly, to introduce myself Vikas. I'll be handling the Sociology for you guys for this batch. And I have been in this field nearly for 11 years. So it's been 11 years since I started my journey in this field, and ever since I started it has been like there has been no day without sociology or without UPSC. That is how this field has been, because once you start with your journey with the UPSC, every day you will at least hear something about UPSC. Even if you are not studying or preparing, there will be something you will be at least hearing with respect to UPSC, and that has been the case with myself as well. And over the years there have been a lot of mistakes I have done, a lot of lessons I have learned, and everything we'll be discussing. So not today, over the course of the classes. So we'll be discussing a lot of things like what all mistakes a student can do, how those mistakes can be avoided. All of those things will be part of this journey. It's not simply going to be about the classes where I simply come, teach here and go. That is not what we are going to do here, because you have exactly 1 year in front of you. We are in the month of May, right? And when does the prelims happen? It's May 24th. Next year also it will be the last week of May. So exactly we have 1 year in front of us. So now the challenge in front of you is how do you minimize the mistakes, because that is the first thing in this preparation, especially when it comes to UPSC. What happens is, as you know, the syllabus is quite vast and a lot of things are very general, because as the name itself says, general studies. You cannot study anything and everything. As a result, there is a very high scope for you to easily end up making mistakes. That is something you have to be avoiding at any cost. The lesser mistakes you make, the easier your approach will be. The more mistakes you make, the more difficult your approach will be. So that is something we'll try and do. Over the period of time, I have myself made a lot of mistakes, and I have seen a lot of people around me, very close to me, doing a lot of mistakes. A lot of my friends have been into the service, a lot of my students have been in service. So we have like had a very personal connect with all those people, knowing them in detail, how they have went about their approach, what they have done, what they have not done, what has helped them to clear everything. So that is something we'll also be discussing in this entire journey and trying to understand how we can simplify our process. Okay. And coming to sociology as such, one thing I can tell is it's a very beautiful subject where you are going to understand a lot of things about yourself and the society in which you live. Now definitely most of you already know about the society, because we are born in this society and we have grown up in this society. However, one thing that you will see is after the completion of the classes, it will not be simply about finishing your sociology for this exam. Your entire way of looking at things, the way of looking at the society will change significantly, because what we are going to study here is something that is very general and something that you already know. Like if I tell you the topics that we are going to see, it's not like they are all new for you. So if I tell you the topic list, like let's say caste system, let's say religion, marriage, inequality, poverty, all these things you already know. But the point is, we know it as a common man. Now here what we are going to do is understand the same topics from the subject point of view. We are going to study it as a subject where we will study it more in an organized way, and we have lot of people whom we call as thinkers. Now everybody thinks, right? It's not like we don't think, but there are some people whom we call as thinkers because they had given more time to think, and that has made them thinkers of sociology, who have been able to understand things in a much better way. For a common man, what looks very simple will be seen in a very different way by these thinkers, and they give us a very different perspective, and that makes our approach very different to understand the society. Simply to give you one example, if you have to understand inequality or let's say poverty, both are very closely connected topics. So if I ask you, all of you would have seen inequality, right? Is there anywhere where society is equal? There is no society which is perfectly equal. Or are everybody equal? No two people can be equal. Not only the natural inequality, we are talking about the social inequality. Do you see any two people being equal or two people being completely happy? Like saying that I am same as this person and we both are happy. That will never happen. Now for us it looks very simple. you might end up thinking that because I did not study well, or because I come from a particular family, I am where I am. But we have many thinkers who try to give us a bigger picture. Like they try to tell us how the society works at a larger level, why we are placed where we are, and how does things happen in the society, what is required to change these things. These are the things that we are going to understand. It will not be simply like something you are studying for the writing purpose. These are the things which are very much important for both common man as well as a civil servant. Especially when you people become civil servants, you are aspiring to bring changes. You want to bring meaningful changes in the lives of people. And if you want to bring changes, first thing is you need to understand what is the problem. What are the root causes of problem? It's not simply like you try to cure it on the surface level. Like let's say there is a wound happened. So if you just put a bandage, it will be like a temporary solution. The bandage will not solve the problem. It will only stop bleeding. It will only stop the infection happening. If you want to solve the problem, the wound, you have to understand why the wound happened at first. Then you have to start finding the cure. That is exactly what we are going to do in society, here in sociology. We'll try to understand the root causes, why we have patriarchy, why there is inequality, why poverty is there, why do people suffer, why does slums come up, why is there urban rural disparity. These are the things which we are going to understand at the root level, and we'll also see how they have changed over a period of time and what can be done, what possibly can be the solutions. That is what we are going to do here. So that is something which is very, very important for a civil servant, because that is what you are going to do every day. It's not like you will be given some mechanical work or some book work where you will go and do accounting something and come back. You are going to solve the problems of people, and for that you need to be visionary and you need to understand how things work at the ground level. That is exactly what we are going to do here in sociology as well. Okay. So today, since it's our introduction class, it will be a lot about introductions, like introducing myself. I have briefly introduced, and introducing about the subject. We'll understand sociology a little bit more in detail. We'll also try and understand about yourselves. We'll have a brief introduction of you people, and we'll also have an understanding about the classes, how we are going to go about the classes for the next 4 to 4.5 months. Okay. So that will be the agenda of the class. So end of the class, you can also ask the doubts. Whatever doubts and questions you have, you can ask them. We'll get them solved. Okay. So we'll start with the introduction to sociology. In the orientation, I think most of you had come. I had given you a broad idea how the subject looks like. Today we'll first try and understand more in detail what exactly the subject is, and then we'll be going about the classes. Okay. Did you all get the handouts? Everybody has got? Yes. So one of the first thing, in fact, the first assignment for you starts today itself. The assignment is every day you have to spend 10 minutes for going through the syllabus. Okay. That is the first thing you will be starting from today. Okay. I am not going to ask you to start with a big standard book. I don't want you to buy any book or anything as such. The first thing you will do is start going through the syllabus. Okay. Because syllabus is like the what you can say key for your success. That is how you can understand, because a lot of you would have heard that sociology requires using of lot of concepts, lot of terms and all, and how do you know or where are the terms? It's all in the syllabus. Okay. So I don't want you to by heart anything. When I tell you have to read the syllabus for 10 minutes, I'm not asking you to by heart it on a daily basis. All you have to do is try and understand what they have given. Okay. I'll be giving you a proper outline today here. After that, what you have to do is every day try to come to the class 10 minutes before. I'll be coming by 7:30. That is a different thing. But you people try and come at least by 7:15. Spend 10 minutes for going through the syllabus. If you can make some small groups, like a group of 2-3 friends, and discuss with each other, that will be even better. I think some of you have already become friends, right? How many of you are from OGP classes here? Most of you are from OGP. I think most of you have like friends, right? You have become familiar with each other. Anybody who was completely new, does not know anybody here? It's like you're all alone preparing. Great, no problem. Here you will be able to make friends. So what you can do is try to make like small 1 or 2 friends. Try and discuss with them. Like you can tell that this is the first unit, these are the topics mentioned. Somebody can tell you the second unit. Something like that. Try to make it more active. The classes should not be like very passive. You simply come to the class, I will teach you, you go back. That is not how the classes should work. Okay, try to keep it more active, more engaged. One best thing that you can do is be very active in the class, because all the topics that we are going to study will be something which you are already familiar with. So do not hesitate for anything. Ask whatever doubts that comes to you. Okay. In fact, the last batch that we completed, one of the best thing about that class was students were very active. The students had a lot of questions to ask, and they were not hesitating also. Obviously, initially maybe you will be having little bit of that inertia, how to ask doubts, what will the teacher think, what will the other students think, etc. But definitely over a period of time, all those hesitations, inertias will go. Okay, you will be completely free to ask questions. The question need not be like a good question, bad question. It has to be a question. Okay, as long as it is like within the class limits, there is no doubts. You can ask any doubt you want. Okay, because this is a subject where you have to learn by curiosity. It is not something where you try to by heart or where you try to memorize things. It has to be learnt and understood. And once you start with the syllabus, you will understand the entire subject is conceptual. There will be very minimal requirement of by hearting. So when it comes to concepts, the more you understand, the more it becomes easier. Okay, because what happens is when it comes to concepts, once you understand the concept, you will not forget it. Maybe you will forget the term, you will forget the particular thinker, you will forget the particular book name, but you will not forget the concept. That is how it works. Like for example, all of you have done your polity. It's going on. So I think you might have come across the topic of fundamental rights, the topic of equality, etc. Now if I ask you any day, you will never say I forgot fundamental rights. You might say I forgot the article related to fundamental rights. You might tell I forgot the case related to fundamental right, but you will never tell I forgot fundamental rights only. You will never tell I don't know the difference between fundamental rights and DPSPs. That will never happen, and that is exactly what will happen in sociology also. Once you understand, you will never forget the concepts. Maybe you will forget the facts, but best thing about sociology is factual part is minimal. Maybe you have to spend 10 to 15% of your entire efforts for memorizing. Everything else will be conceptual. That is the beauty of the subject. Okay, so we'll try to understand the syllabus, how they have given. Okay, so sociology, have you guys gone through the syllabus before coming to the class? How many of you have gone through the syllabus? Yes, nearly 40 to 50% of the class. Quite good thing. Definitely it's natural that when you start your preparation, everything will be new. So, or at times you will also be little lazy. We'll be like, anyway, the class will start, the faculty will be doing. Why should I do it? So, not a problem, we'll be doing it. But what did you guys understand? Those who went through the syllabus, what did you get from the syllabus? Structuring of sociology, society, how the society works, that structure has been given in the syllabus. Great. Then overlapping with GS subjects. Great. Like which topics did you feel overlapping? Yes, a lot of topics you feel they are overlapping with our GS as well. Good. Then what else did you see in the syllabus? What did you feel in the first instinct as soon as you saw the syllabus? What thought came to your mind, or what did you feel about the syllabus? What else? Okay, it is something that you are seeing around your surrounding as well. Absolutely great. Then okay, great. How the society has evolved over a period of time, what all you see in the society, how they are changing, these are the things that you see in the syllabus. Absolutely. What you have more or less told, everything is perfectly right. So we'll try to see it little bit more from the exam point of view, and also how we are going to approach the classes. Okay. So if you look at the syllabus, obviously end of the day, one thing is we are preparing here, or we are here today to clear this exam. So whether you understand sociology well or not, how much you understood will not matter as long as you don't clear the paper. So end of the day, it comes down to clearing the paper, and we have to do what it requires to clear the paper. Okay. So we'll also parallelly, along with understanding the concepts and their relevance for the society, we'll try to keep it little bit more exam centric also, because end of the day, for everybody, results matter. After 1 year of preparation or after 5 years of preparation, if you tell I have become a very good person but I didn't clear the exam, it will not matter. You have to clear the exam. That is why all of you are here, right? Anybody who is here to just understand the subject and not give the exam? Everybody are here to give the exam, right? That is your first motto, to clear the paper. Second motto is to understand the subject. So we have to keep it exam centric, and that is exactly what we are going to do here as well, okay? Because there is a very thin line. If you see the sociology as a subject and sociology for UPSC, both are same, having a thin line difference. Here what is important is we are in that part where we keep it exam centric, because if you look at the syllabus or if you look at the sources, there are n number of sources, there can be n number of different ways of doing things, but you cannot do all of those things because you have a limited time. You have exactly 1 year from now. How many of you are giving your 2027 attempt seriously? Everybody are preparing for 2027 except 28. How many of you are preparing for 28 attempt? 1 and 2. So most of you, it's like almost 95% of the class is preparing for 27. So if you look at the exam pattern now, we have 1 year exactly from now, and I think most of you will be knowing how does the process work. So when do you start your prelims preparation? Jan, maximum February, not beyond that. And those are the 4 months, 2027, February, March, April, May. 4 months has to be kept exclusively for your prelims preparation. That is something where you should not be doing anything with your mains, be it optional or GS. And that means you have somewhere around 7 to 8 months from now. So let's say we start from May, you have the classes going on till mid of September somewhere, roughly 4.5 months. And if you can finish the classes by September 15th, then you will have another 3 months. October, November, December, and maximum January 15th is still when you can stretch your optional. So if you can give another 3 to 4 months, you will be able to have a very good hold on the subject, and that is when you can start your prelims preparation, okay? So we have to make sure we are aligning our preparation with the exam, and it's not like we are doing only optional. Parallelly, you are also doing your GS subjects. You need to give time for your GS also, plus you also need to do your current affairs, right? You have 3 things on your head. One is GS, second optional, third current affairs. And I think by now all of you have a good idea. You're all balancing that, right? Are you guys able to balance? Now that you're starting your optional, but you have to balance. You cannot do one thing too much and leave the other thing. Everything has to be done proportionally. So how much marks do we have for GS? 1000 marks. How much marks do we have for optional? We have 500. So if you see, you can clearly see that it's like 50%. That means you have to be giving that much time for optional. You have to be giving that much time for your GS also. Let's say on an average you are giving 10 hours in a day. It should be roughly like 6 hours for your GS, 4 hours for your optional. If you are doing like 12 hours, maybe you can give 7 hours, 7 to 7.5 hours for your GS and 4 to 4.5 hours for your optional. That is when you will be able to balance. If you, let's say, completely do this, ignore this, you will be compromising this 500 marks. If you do this only too much, leave this, you will be compromising your GS. Both cannot be done. So what I will suggest is, from now on, try to divide your day. And how many of you are giving every day time for preparation apart from coming to the classes? All of you are have taken the GS classes, right? So everybody are attending the GS classes regularly. Have you guys come out of that college mindset, like bunking the classes, going for movie, all these things? Everybody are attending the classes regularly. How many hours are you giving for preparation every day on an average? Yes, 10 hours. Roughly, are you guys able to give 10 hours? That is something you have to be doing. Because we are in the month of May, I will not suggest you that you have to be doing 14 hours, 18 hours and all. That is something you cannot do for a long term. You can study for 16 hours, 17 hours for 1 month, 1.5 months, when you are in the last 1 to 1.5 months. But when we are in this time of the preparation, you have 1 year from now, and after the prelims, you will have another 6 months of preparation. So altogether it will be more or less 2 years from now. If you are a very serious candidate, somebody who is going to clear your exam in the first attempt, you have 2 years in front of you. And when you have 2 years, you cannot slog. Like most of you watch cricket, right? How many of you are How many of you watch cricket? Follow cricket? Everybody understand the terms related to cricket, right? Slog overs, So what do we mean by slog overs? Slogging? Slog, not slog overs. The last part of the innings, accelerating. Basically, when it's like last 3 to 4 hours, they try to score maximum, and that is exactly what we mean by here giving 16-17 hours. You cannot be doing slogging for 1 year. You have to maintain a consistent pace. In the last 2 to 3 months, you have to give your best. If you try to give your best now only, before the exam you will be exhausted. That is something you should not be doing. You start your day with somewhere between 10 to 12 hours. Depends on you. If you are able to sit for 12 hours, it is even better. At least try to sit for 10 hours. In that you have to give at least 6 hours for your classes only. Beyond the classes, if you can give somewhere between 4 to 5 hours consistently, that will be more than sufficient. It's like a guarantee I can give you. If you can do this consistently for 1 year, you will be in the right track, because that is something you can do over a period of time. You have to sustain that energy also. You can do 16 hours maybe for 1 month, 2 months, but you cannot do that for 2 years. So please try to give this much time. And see, when it comes to preparation, one thing that I will suggest is there has to be a work-life balance. I will never suggest, I am not a person who will suggest that give up on everything, leave everything and give your entire time for preparation. That is not something you have to do. Give time for yourself also, give time for your family also, but it has to be at a minimal. It's not like you give up on everything. This is something you have to do as the first priority in your day. After this, give time for other things, not at the cost of this. Okay, first priority is this preparation time. After this, maybe you can keep 1 hour for yourself, half an hour for your family, especially if you are away from family. You want to talk to your family, give 15 minutes, half an hour on a daily basis, not a problem, but don't compromise this time. Within this, try to divide like 3 to 4 hours for optional and 6 hours for your GS and 1 to 1.5 hours for your current affairs. That is how you have to balance it for the next 6 months. Okay, so please make sure that from now on, from today till end of December, you will be keeping your 3.5 to 4 hours for optional. Do not compromise this. Okay, anyway, morning you will be having the classes 7:30 to 10. So whether you want or not, the classes will be done, like 2.5 hours of your time for optional will be done. After that, if you can promise me like 1 hour consistently on a daily basis, and after the classes the same continuation of 3.5 hours for another 4 months, you will be done with your optional. Whatever you have to do for your optional will be done. You can confidently start preparing for your prelims. That is something you can be doing, provided you give this. Okay, please do not compromise on this part, because it's going to be a long journey. Let's say you become in the middle little bit careless, little bit ignorant, later it starts becoming piling. So please do not do that. Okay, try to give 3.5 to 4 hours from today itself consistently. Okay, you don't have to sit for 6 hours, 8 hours for optional, start studying some research books or anything as such. Very simple, you have to come to the classes regularly. After the classes, your first task will be to go and revise what we did in the class. That is the first thing, and whatever has been given in the class, try to stick to that. That will be the basics you have to be doing. Okay, beyond that we will be doing certain things at different point of time, which I will be telling in the course of time. Okay, but to start with, if you look at the syllabus of sociology, we have 2 papers, paper 1 and paper 2, right? So we have paper 1 and paper 2. What does paper 1 and paper 2 tell? Paper 1 says fundamentals of sociology. You guys have the copy in front of you, just have a look at it. Paper 1 says fundamentals of sociology, and paper 2 says Indian society, structure and change. And also please try to write little bit, because studying from the notes will be little bit more passive. Whatever you write in the class will be more active. So we'll try to keep it like a combination of both. Okay, it will not be like you simply come listen for 2.5 hours and go. You'll also be writing parallelly, because when you write, you'll remember better. Okay. So just try to write the broad framework, keep the syllabus copy aside and write it here briefly. All of you have kept separate book for sociology, right? Because it's going to be a lot of writing, not lot of writing, we'll be writing good amount of things in the classes itself. So please maintain a separate book for sociology. Fundamentals of Sociology, Indian Society Structure and Change. So now see what they mean here is basically when they say fundamentals, what does the word fundamental means? The basics. So here they are talking about the basics. Largely we are going to understand this at the global level. So whatever topics we understand, be it religion, be it family, be it politics, whatever it is, we are going to understand this at the global level. That is what the syllabus talks about. Every topic understanding at the basic level and at the global level. However, to just give you on a side note a bit of information, when we mean global level, it does not completely mean global level. It largely means from the context of Europe and North America, because sociology emerged as a separate discipline in Europe and then it started going towards North America, that is USA. That is where it became more popular and then it came to India. So when we mean fundamentals of sociology or sociology at the global level, we are not going to go into the depth of understanding society from, let's say, African point of view or Latin American point of view, etc. It largely means Europe and America. And then here it says Indian society structure and change. So whatever we study here, whatever concepts we study here, everything we are going to apply in Indian context. That is exactly what we are going to do in the paper 2. So that is why this paper becomes more application oriented. While paper 1 is more conceptual in nature, paper 2 is more application in nature. Whatever you study here, will apply here. You see that a lot of topics are overlapping. In paper 1, it says politics and society. In paper 2, it says politics and society in India. In paper 1, it says religion and society. Paper 2 says religion and society in India. Paper 1 says systems of kinship. Paper 2 says systems of kinship in India. So a lot of things overlap with this. Okay, that is what the structure has been designed, our syllabus. So let us see how exactly the paper 1 has been designed. So if you look at the paper 1, the first unit says sociology, the discipline. So what do we mean by the word discipline? Sociology in the context of subject. Usually we use the word discipline for referring to a particular subject where it is studied in a very systematic way, and that is exactly what they mean here. When they mean sociology the discipline, here they are trying to help us understand how sociology subject emerged. Because when you look at any subject, be it sociology or political science, public administration, anthropology, any subject for that matter, even if it is physical science subjects like physics, chemistry, biology, etc., it's not like it was given to us all of a sudden, or it emerged overnight. It would have emerged in a particular context, and that is exactly what we study here. What happened was in the context of Europe. If we go back to Europe, all of you know about Europe, right? Where we have so many other countries including Netherlands, Norway, Sweden, all this part of Europe. This is the continent where sociology emerged. So we'll get to that in detail. So what happened was in Europe there were a series of events happening. It started with what is called as the commercial revolution. Then there were a series of events called as Renaissance and scientific revolution, enlightenment. Some of you would have heard of French Revolution, right? French Revolution, Industrial Revolution. There were a whole lot of events going on, and all of those things eventually resulted in the emergence of sociology. Because what happened was when the society is going through too much of changes, people start facing uncertainty. If the society is stable, if the society is exactly how it was 10 years back, you become comfortable with the society. But what if the society keeps changing every 2 years? People start becoming little bit unstable. People want some kind of certainty, and when changes are happening too fast, people are not comfortable. That is when people want to try and understand why these many changes, what do I do, how do I control things, because one of the fundamental requirement for any human being is they want to have control over the life, right? The day you do not have control over things, you start becoming underconfident. When you have control over things, you become confident. So let me give you a simple example. When you write an exam and when you go to play, when do you feel more confident? Yes? In general, when you play. When you write exam, you feel little bit less confident. Of course, you can feel confident also, provided you are prepared well. But the thing is, in India, most of us we study for the sake of studying, so we never prepare well. We somehow clear the exams. So that is why you don't feel very confident writing the exam. You will be like, if I had another 2 days, it would have been better. If I had another 10 days, it would have been better. You will never tell I am prepared. I want the exam to happen today. That feeling will never be there. But when you play, if you are, let's say you are sleeping and all of a sudden I wake you and tell let's go to play, you will never tell I am not prepared, because you have control over the game. You enjoy the thing. So whenever you are having control over something, you feel confident and you feel better about that. When you are not having a control, that is when you start feeling underconfident. And that is what was happening in Europe also. When things were going at such a rapid pace, the changes happening, people started feeling uncertain. People were not able to understand, because before whatever was happening, it was going through a phase called dark age, where society was too much religious, too much orthodox, everything was more or less stable. But now when series of things started happening, people now started questioning what is right, what is wrong, what I should believe in. Earlier people were believing completely in religion. Religion was central to everything. So life was very easy. All you had to do is just believe in religion. Whatever religion tells, you will follow. But now what happened was, people started questioning religion. You would have heard of lot of thinkers, right? People like Montesquieu, Rousseau, Locke, all these political philosophers. These people started writing things. They started talking about different things. They started saying that state or government should not be controlled by religion. Religion should be kept apart. They started saying different things which people had never heard of. People like Copernicus came and told Earth is not at the center, Sun is at the center. Now it was like all of a sudden shock to people. Earlier people were happy believing that okay, religion has told that Earth is at the center, we are all superior. But now all of a sudden when somebody came and told Earth is not at the center, what your religion is telling is not right, it was like a shock for people. Now what do I do? What should I believe in? What is right and what is wrong? Let me give you one simple example. All of you believe in your parents, right? Let's say tomorrow all of a sudden you feel or you realize that whatever your parents told to you was not right. What will happen? Or take my case only, not me specifically, teachers. When you come to the class, whatever teacher tells, you believe, right? But let's say all of a sudden you come across something which says that whatever teacher has told is wrong. Now that question comes in your mind. What should I believe in? What should I do now? Should I continue believing in them or not? That is exactly what was happening to people. And that is where they wanted to understand society. How society is working. Why we are seeing so much of changes in society. How do we control things? Because once you understand what is happening, you can control things. If you cannot understand, you cannot control. And when you cannot control, you feel anxious. And that is exactly what was happening in Europe, which resulted in emergence of sociology as a discipline. And that is exactly what we are going to study in this first unit. What exactly was happening in Europe and how sociology emerged. And that is what the topic mentions. The modernity and social changes in Europe and emergence of sociology. So here, whatever I told, we put it in one single word called modernity. Now modernity for a common man is very simple, like we use the word modern man, right? All of you use the word modern man. In fact, today we proudly tell that we are modern man. Earlier people were like primitive people or uncivilized. We are civilized man, modern man. But in sociology, this word has a much bigger meaning. We are going to understand what exactly is modernity. Are we really modern people? That is something we will discuss in detail, and we will also understand how this modernity resulted in the emergence of sociology. That is going to be our first topic of the syllabus, and followed by that we have two more topics here. where we do comparison with other subjects. Like we try to compare sociology with political science, economics, history, all other subjects, and see how do sociology and other subjects overlap, how do they differ with each other. And apart from that, we also try to understand what is the difference between sociology and common sense. Now this was like a big question for us. Now as we started the class, first thing I told is we are going to study whatever we are seeing around us. So what we see around us is already something you know. Like if I ask you, do you know religion? You will never tell I don't know what is religion. If I ask you, do you know about caste system? You will not tell I don't know. Now when you already know, what is the need to study it as a subject? Should we study it as a subject? Because it's a common sense, right? That is something we are going to differentiate here. This was basically like taking it to the ego. Because if you tell everything is a common sense, how do you say I am a sociologist? What is the difference between a sociologist and a common man? Common man also knows, sociologist also knows the same thing. So that is where it's like we are trying to prove a point here. How sociology, although has similarity, is not exactly same as common sense. That is what we study in the first unit. Okay. If you look at the second unit and third unit, it says sociology as science and research methods and analysis. Research methods and analysis. See, now these two topics are quite similar in nature. So what basically we do here is we try to first understand what exactly is science. What do we mean by science? What do you think of science? What do you understand by the word science? Science is, of course, in classes you would have studied it as a subject where they would have taught different subjects. But to give a broader idea, what do we mean by science? Logical studying, yes, with evidence, yes, detailed study of a subject in a systematic way. More or less, we can say that it is something that you study with evidence. So in simple, you can say it can be considered as a body of knowledge which is reliable and testable. Whatever you study, it can be in any subject. It can be in physics, it can be in chemistry. It does not depend on the subject. What makes something science is when you can rely on that, when you can test that. Rely means whatever I have told today will remain the same tomorrow also. If I tell gravity is so much, it will remain the same after 100 years also. Gravity will not change. If I say sun is at the center of the universe, it will remain the same even after 100 years. It will not be like after 50 years earth will come to the center, after 100 years another planet will come to the center. That is what we mean by science. Something which is reliable and testable. You can test it also. That is what we mean by science. So here what we do is first we try and understand is sociology a science, because this is a very important topic for us. When we study caste system, when we study religion, when we study marriage, family and all, these are something which are like very personal in nature, which are subjective in nature, because how the family works in India is very different from how the family works in America, which is very different from how the family works in Africa. If you look at tribals, their culture is very different. The family functioning is very different. If you look at the people in India, within India, if you look at South India, if you look at North India, if you look at Northeast India, everywhere the way family works, the way marriage happens, everything differs. When there is so much of difference, how do you say something as science? Because it cannot be reliable or testable. Let's say I give you one definition of family, but that definition does not fit in India. It fits only in Europe. Let's say some European sociologist understood society or understood family from European context and gave a definition, but you try to apply that definition in India. It is not working. How does that become science? That is exactly what we are going to understand here. Within this we have two domains of people. One is called as positivists and second is non-positivists. This word positivist is nothing to do with like positive, negative. It's a specific word we use in sociology. Positivists means those people who believe that sociology is very close to science. We can apply all the scientific methods in sociology. That is what it means by the word positivist. Initially when sociology emerged, what happened was there was a significant influence of science, especially when sociology emerged in Europe. a lot of these scientific revolutions were going on. People like Newton, people like Charles Darwin, a lot of these people had come up with their ideas where they had come up with these universal laws, and those had a very big impact on sociology, and that is where the early sociologists believed that sociology can be studied in a scientific way. Whatever methods we use in science like physics, chemistry and all, every method can be used in sociology. In fact, we were like so much obsessed with this science, we use the same words also. Like how they use the word laws, we also use the word law. People in science use the word fact, right? Fact is a very fond word in science. They tell, I have fact to prove this, and the moment they say I have fact to prove, you cannot question. In sociology, these positivists were so much obsessed, they also use similar words. We used word called social fact. If they use natural fact, we use social fact. We told we also have fact in sociology, which cannot change, which can be proved or which can be verified. That is how sociology started. But slowly, as the sociology as a subject started evolving, there came another school of thought called non-positivists. Now this is another branch in sociology, you can say, who started believing that yes, society can be studied in a scientific way, but not exactly as that of science, because end of the day, society is subjective. Can you ever go and say that Indian society and American society are exactly same? Can you ever say the values of Indian family and American family are exactly the same? Can you say how marriage works in India and how marriage works in America are same? Or forget about India and America. Does marriage happen the same way today and 100 years before or 200 years before? They keep changing. You cannot tell it is completely scientific, because when you say scientific or science, they are reliable and verifiable. Now that means it cannot be changing every now and then. When I tell water consists of H2O, everybody agree, right? Composition of water is H2O. Will it change after 100 years? Will it change after 1000 years? It will never change. But here what is happening? Family keeps changing. Marriage keeps changing. How was marriage happening earlier in India? Just take the Indian case only, forget about other countries. How was marriage happening in India? In your memory you will have the idea how it was happening, let's say 50 years back. How was it happening? What type of marriage we had? It was largely arranged marriage, and you can say traditional marriage, where the bride and the groom will never look at each other. It will be the parents who will look at them. After the marriage, in some movies you would have seen, they will show sarcastically also, the groom will never see the face of the bride. After the marriage only, when they go to the room, they will see the first time, they will see the face of the bride for the first time. It was purely in a traditional way happening, and it was what we call as arranged marriage, and they would depend a lot on the traditions. A lot of things would be what we call as religious in nature. A lot of rituals will be there. Marriage was considered to be sacred. We believe that marriage happens in heaven, not here. And people say that once you marry, you are married forever. You cannot come out of the marriage. That is how we were understanding. Today what is happening? What are you seeing in terms of marriage? Different types of marriage, new practices are coming. Today people are becoming less religious. In fact, we have what is called as court marriage, where people simply go and end up marrying in the register office. You don't have to believe in any religion. You don't have to go in front of God and marry. People can come out of marriage also. People can marry a person of the same sex. Although in India it is not allowed, same sex marriage. In other countries it is allowed. Same sex marriage is happening. New forms like live-in relationship is coming. So many new things are happening. Now when something keeps changing so much, how can you call that as science? That is what these people ended up arguing. They did not completely reject the application of science, but what they told is you cannot apply everything that you apply in science, the physical science, in society. You have to accept that there is an element of subjectivity. That is what this subject, this unit looks like. And this unit is where, as you can see the name itself, research, methods and analysis. Even if you can apply the scientific methods, what are the methods that we are going to apply? That is what we are going to study here. We use different methods, different ways of collecting data, because whatever you want to study, first you have to collect the data. When you collect the data, only different methods are there, and the method that you use has a significant outcome or significant impact. Now best example is the census has started. All of you would have been aware, right? Census 2027. How do they collect the data? Digital mode, but they come to everybody's house and collect the data. And of how many people are they collecting the data? Entire country. It's not like they're going to take one small sample and collect the data. They will collect the data of the entire country. If you look at some of the other surveys, there is one more survey called NFHS, National Family Health Survey. Have you guys heard? How does that happen? There also they collect the data, but what is the size of the data? It's a small sample size. So when I say census, the data is collected from the entire population of the country. If you look at the NFHS, National Family Health Survey, somewhere around 6.6 lakh households, that means families are surveyed. Now, what is the population of the country? Roughly 140 crore, somewhere around 140 crore is the population size, 143, in fact we never collect the exact data, it may be somewhere around 150 also. Here we are saying 6.6 lakh household families, on an average one family has 4 members, let's say 6 into 4 is 24, and let's say they are collecting somewhere around 30 lakh people's data. Here you have 140 crore people in the country. Here you are collecting the data of 30 lakh. It's a very small sample. What is the difference here, or what is the problem you can see here? The chances of accuracy is very less in this. Chances of accuracy is very high, because when you are collecting a small data, there is a chance for errors, and that error can have a significant impact on the outcome. Let's say you want to design a policy. You want to come up with a policy to improve the health conditions in the country. If you do not know what exactly is the problem, whatever solution you give may not be suitable, and that is where having a bigger sample size is very important, and that is what exactly we are going to understand. What are the different methods of collecting the data, how those data vary and how they impact, and what is exactly required for us is what we are going to study here in this unit. So these things are going to be like more kind of you can say the basics, like what are the methods that we use to study society. Okay. Then we have this fourth unit called sociological thinkers. Now, as we discussed earlier also, everybody thinks, even now you will be thinking, but here we mention the word sociological thinkers for a particular reason, because here the syllabus talks about 6 thinkers, and what these people were able to think had a bigger impact. Although everybody are having the brain, everybody can think, these people's thinking ability was slightly higher, and what they were able to think could connect to large number of people. Whatever I think might be able to help me. If I think, let's say, how many of you want to make money? How many of you want to be rich in your life? Most of you. Nobody will say I don't want to make money. Maybe you will tell I don't want to make money in an unethical way, but everybody will tell I want to make money, right? As long as it is legal and ethical, it does not matter. It is not wrong also. But let's say you start thinking and you are successful also. You can make money which will help you to be successful. It cannot make the entire country successful. Like everybody cannot become rich by your thinking. You will be able to be successful. But here what happened was, whatever these people were able to think were something which was applicable for larger section of the society, not just for those people personally, but for everybody else. And that is why we have them as part of our syllabus, where the syllabus mentions 6 thinkers, starting with Karl Marx. Now I think this person is somebody who is like a person who nobody knows, who does not know, or anybody who has not heard of this person, forget about his studies, just heard of this person. Everybody has heard. In what context have you heard of this person? Yes? Huh? Religion is the opium of masses. Like his one of the catch statement, you can say, like a standout statement. Anywhere else have you heard of this person? Communism or Communist Party. Wherever there is this Communist Party, CPI and all, you hear this name. And he is somebody who gave this idea of socialism and communism. He is like a father of these words, communism. And this person had a lot to do with understanding of one very important topic in our society, that is inequality. Whatever he tells might sound more pessimistic, but he was somebody who was more optimistic in nature. This person, Karl Marx, was a European sociologist who was during this time, 1818 to 1883, when the European society was undergoing what is called as industrial revolution. All this I will discuss in detail, but I am just giving you a broad idea. Industrial revolution is where the society was going through a significant shift from how the society was working earlier to how society started working at the present. And as we said earlier, when society undergoes too much of change, there will be no control. And what happened was, some people started becoming very rich, some people started getting exploited. There was a massive divide in the society, what he calls as haves and have-nots. He sees that the entire society is divided into two sections. One section he calls as haves, other section he calls as have-nots, and he tries to explain us why the society is divided like this, and who are these people, haves, and who are these have-nots. Why are they rich? Why are they poor? Why do these people control these have-nots? That is what he tries to understand. He tries to explain this in a historical way. He starts from the earlier society, comes till the present. Present means this time, not 21st century when he was alive. How the society has been working and how the inequality has remained forever. And he also goes on to give a solution. He says the only solution is revolution. There is no other solution. Although his solution was not very practical, because when he said revolution, he wanted to bring sweeping changes, a change at a large scale and overnight change, which was not practically possible. Although his solution was not very much feasible or relevant, his understanding of inequality, the reasons for it have been highly relevant, something which is applicable today also. In fact, with today's world, what is happening is there is this advent of AI. I think now everybody has got used to AI. Anybody who does not use AI at all? Yes, anybody who has not used AI till now? Artificial intelligence, everybody uses, right? And how AI is impacting the society was something that was told by Marx in those times. He did not exactly tell about AI, but he told how technology controls the society, how technology can divide the society. What we are seeing today exactly is what was told by Marx earlier, and that is what we are going to understand with respect to Karl Marx. Then we have our next thinker called Emile Durkheim. Now this person is somebody whom we call as a functionalist. Functionalist or functional perspective basically means trying to understand that whatever exists in society has a particular reason and it has an important role to play in the society. So just giving you a broad view, functional perspective. As the word itself says, function. It has a very important function or a very important role to play for the society. That is what was championed by Emile Durkheim. What Marx told was called as conflict perspective. As he says, society is divided between two people, haves and have-nots. He says the haves will always control the have-nots. Society is always having inequality. This person takes an exactly opposite view where he calls as functional perspective, and he says whatever is there in the society, whether it is religion, whether it is education system, whether it is family, whether it is the government, whatever it is, take anything, if it is there in the society, it has a very important role for the society. If it does not exist, society will find it difficult to survive. For the very society to survive, whatever is there is important. That is what he says, and he goes on to study certain very interesting topics like religion. In fact, if you remember the orientation, we had talked about suicide, right? And this is exactly the person who talks about suicide. He tries to understand suicide in a very different way, because we understand suicide in a very different way. We see that suicide happens because of personal problems, right? How many of you agree that suicide happens because of personal problems? Yes, nobody agrees. What is the reason for suicide? Why do people commit suicide? Yes, emotions, depression. Most of the people commit suicide for depressions. What else can be the reason? Failures. Yes, it can be exam failure, it can be love failure, In fact, today people commit suicide more for love failure than exam failure, right? Because very less people are very studious, and within that very less people fail and commit suicide. A lot of people commit suicide for exam failure, love failure, business failure, people going into depressions. These are all personal reasons, right? My own reason because of which I committed suicide. But this person, Emily Durkheim, comes and says people commit suicide not because of their problems. He says because of the societal problems people commit suicide. How the society functions has a lot to do with suicide. That is what this person tells, and he also tries to explain us how the society, how the nature of work has evolved over a period of time. How we were doing the work earlier and how we are doing the work in the present society. That is Emily Durkheim. And then we have a third thinker called Max Weber. Now, Max Weber is a person whose name is synonymous to bureaucracy. He is somebody who has contributed a lot to political science as well, where he tries to explain us how the modern society works. He is a person who comes slightly later after Karl Marx and after Emily Durkheim. So this person explains us some of the concepts like bureaucracy. Now, our favorite topic for you guys. How many of you like this word? Bureaucracy. Everybody has to like, because you are preparing for bureaucracy, right? To become a bureaucrat. And this is the person who is considered to be father of bureaucracy. He explains exactly what is bureaucracy, how bureaucracy works, and he goes on to talk about a lot of other topics. He also explains topics like social action. What can you make of this word, social action? What do we mean by the word action? Physical, any movement you can say, bodily movement you can say is a action. What does the word social action means in that case? Changing the, bringing evolution of society. That we can understand more in the form of social change more than social action. So when we say evolution of society or changes in the society, the better word will be social change. This is a detailed topic we study in 10th unit. Here what he does is, he tries to explain us what is the difference between a biological action and a social action. Biological action can be like eating food, sleeping, you are simply, let's say, walking in the road, having no purpose. Simply you are walking, you don't even know what is happening. That is what he calls as behavior. He tries to differentiate between human behavior and social action. When it is involving two or more people, it has a meaning attached to it, that becomes social action. That meaning can be anything. As long as you are attaching certain meaning, when you are doing something, when your action has a meaning involved, it can be anything. Like now let's say when I do this, it has a meaning. I am trying to convey something to you. That becomes a social action. You are sitting in the classroom, when I tell something you nod, right? You tell yes. If you do not understand, you will tell you didn't, like you will tell no, or you will make a blank face. That is also a social action. It is conveying something to me. So that is what we call by meaning attached. When any action has a particular meaning attached, that becomes social action. And he explains us more in detail what is a social action, how does that work in the society. And we have multiple other topics as well, but that is a broad idea about Max Weber. Then we have a person called Talcott Parsons. Now so far what we saw, the first three thinkers are with respect to Europe. All these three people came from Europe. Karl Marx and Max Weber coming from German, Emily Durkheim coming from France. Now the next three thinkers is where it's a shift to happening towards America. These three thinkers come from America, mainly America means USA. So Talcott Parsons is somebody who comes from America, who is more known for what is called as structural functionalism. So functionalism we discussed briefly with Durkheim. So here he tries to give it more at a macro view, how the society works at a large scale, how people are connected. In fact, what he does is he tries to connect the macro picture to the micro picture, how the society works at the societal level and how individuals are connected. So that is something he tries to connect. Earlier before him, what happened was all those people who came to understand society or study sociology tried to study everything from the societal point of view. How society is functioning, how society changes, how religion works at a larger level, What happened was, when it came to Talcott Parsons, he tried to connect this society to individuals. The micro picture at the bigger level, macro picture at the bigger level, to the micro picture at the smaller level, how society works and how individuals look at it. That is what Talcott Parsons does. We'll understand more in detail about him. A lot of the concepts that he has given are something you can apply very much in today. He calls what is called as pattern variables. How when people try to behave in the society, people face dilemmas. A lot of times people face dilemmas, right? Everybody face dilemma. What is dilemma? Confusion. People are not able to decide between what is to be done, what is not to be done. One simple example, what he gives is ascription versus achievement. So what do we mean by these words? He says people face dilemma in terms of ascription versus achievement. So what is he trying to tell here? What do we mean by the word achievement? Something that an individual has done by himself or herself. What do we mean by the word ascription? Ascription basically means the status or identity that you have got by the virtue of your birth. You have not done anything to gain that, simply because you are born, you have that status. Like for example, you belong to a particular caste. Have you done something to belong to that caste? You were simply born in that caste. You belong to a particular family. You belong to a particular religion. You have a particular identity. Have you done anything to do that? You have a family name, right? Everybody has family names. Did you do something to get that family name? You did not do anything. Simply you were born in that family. You were born in that caste. All of us are differentiated in terms of gender, right? Male and female. Did you do something to become a male or a female? You are simply born. That is what we call as ascription. Achievement is what you do, like what you have done so far. All of you are graduates, right? All of you have completed graduation. Did you become graduate by birth, or did you achieve graduation? You achieved. Now tomorrow you are going to become a civil servant. That will be your achievement. What you do by yourself is what we call as achievement. What you get by your birth is what we call as ascription. Now Parsons says people face dilemma in this. People face which one has to be given preference is a challenge. What do you think is a better one? To give preference for ascription or achievement? Achievement. On the face it looks very easy. You can tell what is the dilemma in that. Let me give preference for achievement. Why to give preference for ascription? But let me give you one simple example. When it comes to marriage, will you, let's say maybe you might prefer achievement when it comes to your family. Will they prefer a bride or a groom from your caste and religion, or will they prefer whom you like from your caste and religion? That is exactly what he is telling. People face dilemmas. It's not easy. Let's say tomorrow you become a civil servant, and there are 10 people waiting in front of your office. Let's say you are the district collector. Have you guys seen this movie, Prithvi? Most of you would have seen. Punit Rajkumar is the district collector, a very honest officer. Let's say tomorrow you are an honest officer like that. You have your you are a district collector, you are in your office. There are 50 people waiting in queue to solve their problems. Now the 51st person is the chief minister who comes to your office. Will you ask the chief minister to stand in the line, or will you attend that person first? Let's say 52nd person is your relative, maybe your father or mother having a genuine problem. They are standing in the queue waiting for their pension problem. Will you ask them to stand in the queue, or tell you come first? What will you do in that case? Yes? What will be your choice? Will you tell first come first serve, I will serve you as the 52nd person, or will you tell you are my father or my mother, you come first? What will you do? Yes? Naturally it will be asking them to come first. That is what he says. People face challenges. On the face, when we talk about these dilemmas, what he talks about, it looks very simple. It looks like what is there to choose. You can easily go for achievements, but it is not as it is. In real life, people face lot of dilemmas, and that is exactly what he tells us. What are the different types of dilemmas people face? How do you handle that? And these are very important for you people also. When you become civil servants, you are going to face a lot of these dilemmas. Most of those as he tells. And that is exactly what we are going to understand with Talcott Parsons. Then we have our fifth thinker called R.K. Martin. Now R.K. Martin is a very interesting guy. In fact, this person has a very interesting background. Initially, he is somebody who is a magician, not a sociologist. And even before becoming a magician, he is like a kind of this, what you can say, uh, like street gang boy. Like, you know, right? All of you, especially many of you would have been also. When you're in your teenage, you'll be having this bike, like doing road rage, having tattoos, like I am the hero in this world, that kind of feel. This person was exactly like that before he became a sociologist. Then he goes on to become a sociologist, and as a result, a lot of topics what he gives are very much related to these concepts. That is where he talks about what is called as deviance. One of the topic that he talks about is deviance. Deviance means how people change their path. Like ideally you are expected to be something, but you deviate from the path. What is the ideal thing expected from a student? Yes, study well, you have to listen to your parents, you have to listen to your teacher, you have to get up early in the morning, do your studies, go to the class, prepare well for exams and write the exam well, get good job, get married, have a good family life. That is what is expected. But people don't do that. People deviate. In different ways people deviate, and that is what he explains us. He talks about different types of deviations. He says there are some people whom he calls as conformists. These are people like the ideal people who are like perfect people, but not everybody are like this. He says in society you can see different types of deviance. One is, he says, innovation. People innovate. People come up with new things. Let's say you want to become rich. Now what is the ideal way of becoming rich? Everybody want to become rich, right? Everybody has the goal of becoming rich. But what is the means that you follow to become rich? What are the possible means that you see in the society? You get a job, a good job, you start earning money, you save it, you become rich. What else is the option? You start your own business, your business becomes successful, you become rich. Those are conformists, people who do something which is accepted by society. But he says not everybody are like this. There are people who innovate. How do people innovate? Crime. People take up crime. One easy way. You do some robbery, you do some dacoity, you become overnight rich. That is what he calls as innovation. It can be in a positive way also, not always negative. Let's say you end up taking a lottery and you win the lottery. Overnight you become rich. Different types of people's behavior you can see in the society. Then he says there are people whom he calls as ritualists. As the ritualist means people simply follow what is told in the society, but they don't have any goal because they know that they cannot achieve the goal. Take the case of a classical middle class family man. How does middle class look like? What are the problems faced by people in the middle class in general? When it comes to work, balancing between the dreams, needs and dreams, or needs and wants, you can say. So, but what is the problem with middle class? You cannot achieve those, because if you are a middle class person, what is the type of job people have in middle class usually? Yes, a teacher, a classical teacher is like a middle class person. Small scale, maybe he's having a small shop, a small hotel or a provision shop, maybe working as a bank employee, something like this. And you see that for these people, it is never possible to become rich. Can a person working as an employee, a salaried person, become a billionaire? Even for you people, when you become bureaucrat, you will be in middle class. If you depend purely on your salary, you will be in middle class only. You will never become upper class. You can become rich only when you deviate. If you are a conformist, you stick to the rules of civil service, you will be in middle class. You can never achieve your aspirations. And those people he calls as ritualists, because they end up giving up on their goals, because they know they cannot achieve. If you want to become a billionaire, let's say you are a strong follower of, whom do you like? What do you follow more, sports or entertainment? Sports. So who is your favorite sports star? Virat Kohli. Obviously nobody will tell no for that. Everybody likes Virat Kohli. Now all of you will be knowing how much rich he is, how much thousands of crores he has. You also follow him passionately. You want to be like that. But let's say tomorrow you become a middle class employed person. Can you ever earn that much? If you work for even 1,000 years, you cannot achieve earn 1,000 crores. That is where you end up giving on your goal. You simply start following the rules. You will not violate the rules, but your goals will not be followed anymore. That is what he calls as ritualist. He talks about different types of deviance, how people deviate in society, and he talks about a lot of topics which are highly relevant. He talks about something called as anticipatory socialization. Now this word anticipatory socialization is connected to this also. What can you understand from this word? What do you mean by anticipating? You have a hope. You think that it might happen. Tomorrow it might happen. You anticipate that maybe after preparing for 1 year I will become a civil servant. That is what you anticipate. Socialization means you start behaving the way. Let's say you are preparing for civil service. You anticipate that tomorrow you will be a civil servant. After 1 year I will be a civil servant. After 2 years I will be a civil servant. So what you do is you start behaving like them. You start seeing how civil servants behave, how they wake up, at what time they wake up, how they dress, how they talk, what food they eat, whomever you follow, you start behaving like them. That is what he calls as anticipatory socialization. But the problem is, for everybody it is not possible to be successful. Can everybody achieve what they aim? It is not possible. And when that is not possible, he says people end up becoming what he calls as marginal man. It's like you end up neither here nor there. So a classical example is, let's say there is this person from a village. He has come to city. Let's say he has come to Mumbai, because Mumbai is more known for Bollywood movie industry. Let's say there is this person from a small village aspiring to be a Bollywood star or a superstar in movie industry, and goes to Mumbai to become an actor. Now after doing all the possible things, after 5 years he or she is not able to become a star, an actor. What happens to that person? That person becomes marginal man. Why so? Because neither he or she is able to achieve their dream, nor can go back to their original place. Why is that the case? Why can't they go back? If they are not able to achieve what they wanted to in the city of Mumbai, can they go back to their village? Yes? No? No? Why? In the big city there are more choices, and more than the choices, when they came here they would have come with the dream. They would have completely changed their way of life. They would have changed the way of life. They would have changed the way of thinking. They would have changed their behavior, their dressing style, everything would have changed. And as a result, you cannot go back to your original place again. In village, you had a different lifestyle. You would wake up early in the morning, go to farms, do agriculture, come back by maybe 11 o'clock, and again after 3 or 4 you will go to your agricultural land, do farming, come at 7 o'clock and chit chat in the village corner in front of what we call as Somberi Katte. Mostly you would have heard of this word, right? Somberi Katte. In villages, you go sit there, do chit chatting, go back home, have dinner and sleep. That is the routine. Now when you came to city, a big city called Mumbai, what has happened? That routine is not there anymore. You have changed your entire lifestyle. Your food style, your dressing style, the way you talk, the type of friends you make, everything has gone through a sweeping change. Now when you have gone through that change, you cannot again go back to your original. So, and even these people will not accept, because your way of life has changed. Neither you cannot go back to your original life, nor with the new life the old people will accept you. You end up neither accepted by the new life or by the old life. It's like you are here in between. That is what he calls as marginal man. Something that you see with many people. You see a lot of people have this dream of becoming a celebrity, have this dream of becoming a civil servant, have this dream of becoming a sports star. They try and do everything possible. End of the day, it is not possible. They become what he calls as marginal man. Something which is very relevant for a lot of people. Lot of people end up having this dream of becoming a businessman. They invest everything. They go through business loss. Now they cannot again do something else. They cannot do business also. What do? Become marginal man. in the extreme that results in committing suicide. So this is what he tries to explain, how society works, how individuals behave in the society. Then we have the sixth thinker called G.H. Mead. Now G.H. Mead is somebody who tries to explain as more at the individual level. So he explains how the individuals grow in different stages. All of you would have grown in different stages, right? So he gives different names called, he says this self, everybody have their self. He says this self grows in different stages. He says there are different stages, what he calls as preparatory stage, play stage and game stage. So these are the three stages in which he says our self grows. So it's not like who we are, we became overnight. We have become who we are over a period of time, and he explains us in a very systematic way how we have become who we are and what are the different phases through which we have went through and how people go through changes. Everything he explains in detail, and something what he explains is also highly relevant for you people, especially when there is the upbringing of a child. What he tells becomes very relevant, and this person is also known for what is called as symbolic interactionism. This is a new term. So as of now, do not worry about any of these words. I am just giving you a broad overview. Okay, all these are like our major focus areas. We will be discussing them in detail. We will be taking classes together to understand each of these in detail. Okay, I am just giving you a broad overview how the syllabus looks like. So this is what constitutes our fourth unit, and you can say this is like the foundational unit, and it's not like simply one small unit. We are going to take up nearly like 1 to 1.5 months just for one unit. Okay, that is how big and how important this is. In our syllabus, if you look at the syllabus copy, this unit simply looks like fourth unit, but that is not how it is. So what we will do is, we start with the first unit. We will only understand the first topic, modernity and social changes in Europe and emergence of sociology. Then we will directly come to this unit, the fourth unit. We will do this unit in detail because it requires a good amount of understanding, and it will set a very strong foundation also. The more stronger our foundation is, the more better the building will be, as simple as that. So this will give us a very strong foundation to our entire sociology. Then we will go with other units. So if you look at the fifth unit, this says stratification and mobility. Then we have the sixth unit which says work and economic life. Then we have seventh unit which talks about politics and society. Eighth unit talks about religion and society. Ninth unit talks about systems of kinship. Now this is going to be one of the most interesting unit for a lot of students, systems of kinship, where we talk about two very important topics, family and marriage. We will understand what exactly is marriage, what exactly is family, and we will also understand what is patriarchy, why society is divided between men and women, not only biologically but socially, why men do something and women do something, why are they never equal, can we ever achieve equality between men and women. That is what we are going to study here. And 10th unit is social changes in society, in modern society. Now why I have written all these units together is, we see that these are the topics where you see a common pattern. So here what happens is, all these are different topics or concepts that you see in the society, and our approach will be more or less same. So what we will do is, with each of these unit we will be starting with a theory. So what happens is, we start with a theory, not one theory, multiple theories. We have different social thinkers, different sociologists who come up with different theories. Any topic you take, what do we mean by stratification? Division of society. Society is divided. What are the different types of stratification you see in society? Caste system is a best classical example. We have 4 stratas: Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras, and outside we have what is called as 5th caste. If you talk about class, what are the different classes we have? upper, middle and lower class. If you talk about if you talk about gender, we have male and female. Society is divided. So what we'll do is we'll first try and understand different theories. We will have different type of perspectives. One is conflict perspective. Second is functional perspective. Conflict perspective means we try and say that division is not good for the society. Dividing the society will result in exploitation. Functional perspective means exactly opposite. Those people say division is good. Now, what do you think is better? On one hand, we have conflict perspective who say dividing the society will result in exploitation of people. Functional perspective people say that dividing the society is good for the society. Which one do you agree? Both are contradicting to each other, right? Both are exactly opposite. What is your opinion? Is it good to have divisions or it is bad to the society? Yes, think and tell. Also try to give one line explanation also. If it is good, why? If it is bad, why? We are divided in the society, right? We have different class. Let's take the case of class: upper class, middle class and lower class. Now, do you think it is good to have these classes, or is the society having problem? Should it be equal? Should everybody be equal, or is it better to have the classes? What is your opinion? Better to have the classes. Why so? Differences. When we have differences, basically you are talking about meritocracy. Everybody cannot be treated equally. Yes, absolutely. Because if we, let's say, talk about equality, can we give same amount of salary for everybody irrespective of their efficiency? Somebody is a bureaucrat, somebody is a clerk. Can you give same salary for both? It is not going to be possible because it will not encourage. Let's say a clerk has 50,000 salary, a IAS officer also has 50,000 salary. Will this IAS officer be motivated to become an IAS officer? Simply you can end up becoming a clerk. That is what we say. Functional perspective. It is good to have division. Anybody who takes this stand, it is bad to have division. Think. Everybody agrees with this only, functional perspective. Nobody says it is bad to have division of people. Think. This is exactly what we want in the class. You have to think. And you are completely free here because sociology is all about perspectives. It is about thinking about the same thing in multiple ways. And the beauty is everything will be right at the same time. It will not be about judging. It is not about saying this is right or this is right. Both will be right at the same time in their own ways. That is the beauty of this subject. Now, one we told functional perspective. Yes, having division in the society is good for the society. Can you tell why it is bad for the society? Yes. Hmm. Yes. Yes, exactly. Great. So one of the answer we got. Already we have a thinker in our class. So in fact, a lot of socialists have to explain this in a proper way. So what happens is it results in structural inequality. When we have the society divided, it creates in systematic barriers. So it will not be about having perfect merit. So imagine now the society is divided into upper class, middle class and lower class. Imagine the poorest person, somebody living in a slum. All of you would have seen slums, right? Somebody is living in a slum, a child born in a slum. Now what is the condition for this child? Imagine two children. One child is born to a billionaire in the city, another child is born to a poor person in the slum. Now both the children are equal. Let's say you tell both are having same capability, both are having same intelligence. Can both of them achieve what they want? It will never be possible, because for this child born in the slum, the main thing is survival. Survival itself is struggle, because every day is a challenge. The child never knows. The child can die any day because of a disease. Because the child is living in a slum, this child becomes more vulnerable for all possible diseases. Maybe because of diarrhea that child might die. Maybe because of a flu that child might die. Because there is no concept of hygiene. You don't have the money to take the child to hospital, even if the child is not well. Imagine this child in the wealthy family. This child has access to some of the best educational facilities, best health facilities, everything possible. Now this child, if let's say wants to start a business after becoming older, he or she has all the access. He can simply take the family wealth and start a business. What about this child? He can never start a business because at first the family wealth is not there. Second, to take bank loan also they need collateral, which is not there. So that division what you see will create division forever, and as a result it will not ensure level playing field for everybody. That is exactly what we say by conflict perspective, and everything is right at the same time. That is what we understand here. Theoretical perspective, I just give you one example of theoretical perspective, how we try and understand each of the topics. Be it politics in society, we try to understand different theories with respect to politics. Same is the case with religion. In fact, with religion, the whole way of looking at religion, how you understand religion, whichever religion it is. Here, when we talk about theories, it is not about one particular religion. It is about understanding religion as a whole. How religions emerged at first, how religions have evolved over a period of time. That is what we understand. There are different theories, very beautiful theories. We'll understand each of them in detail and take the case of any topic. First we'll start with the theoretical part. We try to understand the theoretical background, how that concept came at first, whether it is good or bad, what is happening with that. That is what we understand. Then we have multiple concepts with each of the topics. So any topic you take, any unit, different concepts related to that topic is what we are going to study. Like for example, if you talk about stratification, there are different topics like equality, inequality, poverty, exclusion, marginalization, etc. If you talk about work and economic life, we have different topics like formal sector, informal sector, etc. Politics and society, what are the topics you hear with politics? Different concepts. All of you will be hearing about politics on a daily basis, right? At least when you read the newspaper. What topics you come across? What concepts you come across when you talk about politics? Best or fundamental idea of politics, democracy, then secularism, secularization, pressure group, civil society, nation, state. All these are different topics that we are going to understand. And the beauty is it's not going to be like factual where you buy at things. It is about understanding the concepts. What exactly is democracy? What exactly is state? Now if I simply ask you, you know already what is state, you also know what is nation. But if I ask you what is the difference, can you tell me exactly what is the difference between a nation and a state? Can you try? Nation is oneness feeling, okay. State, how do you differentiate between a nation and a state? Yes, state is part of nation, okay. Can you a little bit modify? How do you understand exactly a state and a nation? Are they both same? If not, what is the difference? It can be based on religion or it can be based on anything. The broader idea is when we say the word nation, it is about having that we feeling. We means oneness. We belong to this nation. So it can be based on any historical background also. In India, if you take, we have the feeling of nation on basis of multiple things. We have the feeling of nation. We all feel that we are Indians. India is a nation as well as a state. When we say nation, it is about having this feeling of oneness. We are Indians. Now when we say we are Indians, what is the common factor based on which you are telling we are Indians? Common? Yes? Common? Emotions. On what basis you have common emotions? The idea of oneness itself is nation. One nation, which is about emotions only. But what is driving your emotions? What is making you feel that we are all one? Yes? Patriotism. Let's say you go to Kashmir, or let's say you go to Nagaland. You see somebody whom you have never met in your life. That person says, I belong to Nagaland. And the moment he or she says, I belong to Nagaland or I belong to Jammu and Kashmir, you feel that we are one. You feel that sense of Indianness. What is making you feel that? Had you ever met or known that person? You never knew. But just telling that I am an Indian made you feel one. What is that factor? Nationalism coming from what? that border basically, because we are all part of this one territory called India. Whoever is inside that border, you have that feeling of oneness. We all belong to one country. It can be based on this territory, it can be based on the history, having a common historical factor. We all have went through colonial rule. It can be based on the common religion. It can be based on common nation, common caste, anything it can be. As long as you have that feeling, it is what we call as nation. State is more about a political entity, having a boundary, having a government, having people and sovereignty. That is what we call as state. So we have such different concepts where we try and understand exactly what each of these concepts mean to us. Talk about religion, we have again multiple concepts. We also have multiple problems with religion. So we have different problems like fundamentalism, problems like communalism, and we have different concepts like sects, cults. All of these are what we are going to study here, and that is the same thing we are going to do here. So that is what constitutes paper 1 as a whole. If you look at paper 2, in paper 1 it was more clear and more easier. They have given us 10 units and it's very clear also. If you look at paper 2, this is also more very clear only, just that the approach is slightly different. What they have done is they have divided into 3 sections. So paper 1 at first says Indian society, structure and change. This is what the paper mentions. Within this we have 3 sections. The first section is introducing Indian society. The second section is social structure. The third section is social changes in modern India. This is what the syllabus mentions. Broad threefold division. Now why they have done this ways? Because it gives us a proper order. So here when they mean introducing Indian society, they give us a brief idea of how sociology emerged in India. Now if you remember, when we started with the first unit, we talked about how sociology emerged. That was the first unit, right? Same way we are going to understand how sociology emerged in India as well. Just like how it had a particular context in Europe. In Europe we said there were a series of events happening, as a result of that sociology emerged. In India also it has a particular background, like a particular history as to how sociology emerged. And when it emerged, we had little different perspectives, because Indian society is unique, as we said earlier also. Every society is different and the way of understanding also varies. You cannot have the same approach to understand every society, and that is what we try to understand here. Under this we have 2 units. One, we talk about the different perspectives. So we will not go into the details now itself, I just give you a broad idea. So one is the perspectives, where we try to use 3 different perspectives. One is Indology, which is very unique to India. The 2 other perspectives are already what we have studied, the structural functional perspective and Marxist perspective. We are going to apply that in India. Second, we will talk about the impact of colonial rule. Colonial rule means British rule. When British came to India, Indian society underwent significant changes. Now it was not simply about economic changes. There were a lot of impact on the society as well. What are the social changes that India witnessed? Any 1 or 2 examples can you give? Education system underwent a massive change. Yes. Anything else? Industrialization. These are with respect to the economic changes. What about the society? Western culture came to India. Indian families underwent change. The way of marriages underwent change. The way of family functioning have underwent change. So many things have underwent change. So that is what we try and understand here briefly. What British rule meant to India. Then this section says social structure. So social structure is where we try to understand broadly what the society looks like. Now what do we mean by the word structure? In general, what does the word structure means, yes, the skeleton. Basically, it's like the framework. If you, let's say you look at this building from outside, how does the structure look like? Yes, this building, if you, when you come to this building, at least first time when you came, you would have seen from outside how inside looks like, right? Then only you would have come. Once you come, it becomes a routine. Now you will not have the time also. You will be in the hurry. Most of the days you will be late to class. You will be just rushing to the class. You will not have the time to look at the building. But at least first time when you came to insides, at least the OGP building, you would have seen the structure, right? How does it look like from outside? Something like a rectangular building, like different floors were there. And here you have our insides logo, all those you can see, little bit of honeybee, beehives also you can see. Then you can see a lot of windows, right? You can see the lift here. Then next to that you have the stairs, right? This is the structure, how the building looks like. And that is exactly what we mean by structure for society. When we talk about Indian society, what all do you see in Indian society? From outside view, macro view, the bigger picture of society. What constitutes India? Culture. A little bit more specifically, the cultural aspects. Different age people, group of people, okay. In terms of the bigger picture, like one is you can see the rural India, right? Then we can see that there is something called caste system. Then we have tribals. What else can you see in India, the society? Do we also have religion? We also have religion in our country. Then we have the kinship. Kinship means family and marriage. When we say culture, culture includes family, marriage, all of these things. Culture is a much bigger word. Within culture, all this comes. So these are the things exactly what we are going to understand. This is what constitutes the second part of the paper 2. If you look at the third part, it says social changes in India. Now this becomes the most dynamic part of our entire syllabus, be it paper 1 or paper 2. This is something where you have to little bit update yourself with the current affairs. And why I am telling this part is you have to know the proper approach, because a lot of you will be having the doubts. In many of you, when you came to meet me also before the classes, you guys had this doubt. How much current affairs do we need? Is sociology dynamic? Is it dynamic? Yes, it is. But how do you know where it is dynamic, where you have to apply the concepts? Not that other areas don't need concept, but those are kind of more theoretical and conceptual. This part is kind of more dynamic in nature. This is where your current affairs become more relevant. So this is where we have different units. One is we understand the visions of social change. So after the independence, our founding fathers had a vision for this country. How did they try to implement that? Constitution, laws and 5-year plans. We started with the planning, idea of planning commission. With that we came up with the idea of development. We want to bring development in the country using the planning commission, 5-year plans, through the laws, constitution. That is what we are going to understand. What was the vision at the time of independence? And today we are at 75th year. In fact, we have crossed 75 years. Where do we stand? Have we achieved what we wanted to achieve? If not, what have been the reasons? If we have achieved what we wanted to, what are the reasons for that? To what extent have we been successful? That is what constitutes this chapter. Then we have rural and agrarian transformation. So first, we understood the vision for entire country as a whole at the broader level. Second, specifically talking about villages. India constitutes mainly the two parts, right? Rural and the urban part. So that urban area constitutes lesser in size compared to rural area. What is the composition of rural areas? How much percentage do they constitute? Roughly 65%. 5% is the rural part, villages, 35% is the cities. And that is exactly why we have this as the first unit. First, the vision for the entire country. Second, specifically talking about the rural and agrarian transformation. How much change have we brought in the rural areas? What have we adopted? One major thing that we tried to do with respect to rural area was green revolution. How did green revolution go about? What changes did it bring about? And while bringing this change, not everything has been smooth. We do see a lot of problems. What is the problem that you see while bringing rural change? One most common problem is migration. A lot of migration happens. You see a concept called bonded labor. These are some of the problems that you see with respect to the rural changes, and that is what we are going to understand. Then followed by that, we have the next unit called industrialization and urbanization. So first we understood about the entire country, second the rural part, third is the urban part. So you can see they have given in a very proper logic. They are having a proper chronology as well, like a proper flow is there where you can do it in a systematic way, and this is exactly what we are also going to do. Okay, we'll understand here what is industrialization, what is urbanization, and how cities are undergoing change. So what are the common patterns of changes you can see in the cities today? All of you are in city, Bangalore, metropolitan city, IT capital of the country. What changes do you see, or what you see in cities different from rural areas? Digitalization, yes. You see that lot of people today live in virtual world more than the real world. People end up more in their virtual world. And how did we end up there? What are the problems with that? Is everything good with that? We see a lot of problems. What else do you see with urbanization? Yes, westernization, the influence of Western culture. Yes, very much simple example. People want comfortable life. People have become more materialistic in nature. People want money. People want material things. Now, who says I do not want iPhone? Everybody wants iPhone. Who says I don't want a car? Will anybody say I have a two-wheeler, I am more than happy? I will give my extra money to other people. People want material things. People say if I have one car, I want two cars. If I have two cars, I want third car. If I have three cars, I want a better version. If I am having, let's say, Innova, I want BMW. If I have BMW, people say I am not happy with that. I want the latest version of BMW. People are never happy. What we call as materialistic life and consumption culture. Today it has become all about consumption. How much do we consume? How do we consume today? Consume things. Online culture. You just click one button on your phone, everything comes to your doorstep. Earlier we had what is called as 10 minutes delivery. Fortunately, government came, interfered and banned the 10-minute culture because of the unsustainability. But nevertheless, we have the online culture. You just click one button, everything comes to your home. What does not come? Tell me one thing that you cannot order online. Yes? Which one? Guns. Okay. Meaning whatever is available, legal. Like even guns you can order, like at least the toy guns you can order online, that also will be delivered. But tell me what you consume on a day-to-day basis, starting from the food, the clothes, the gadgets that you use, even the services. You want to have a haircut, you can consume online. You just order in urban culture, they come to your home. You want to clean your home, they come to your home. Everything has become online. What we call as consumption culture. And we try to understand what are the changes and things that you see in the cities in the present day. That is what constitutes this unit. And then we have one more unit called politics and society. This is something which we have in paper 1 also. The application of that in India is paper 2. Then we have one unit called social movements in modern India. So this is where we try to understand different types of social movements. Now in your history you would have studied about particular movements in detail. Are you guys done with your modern history? Not yet. So when you do modern history, you will be coming across lot of movements, different types of movements. here what we do is we don't focus on the individual movements as such. We try to understand the broader patterns. So if you take, for example, we have what is called as peasant movements, peasant or farmers. Then we have caste movements, caste based movements. Then we have, yes, tribal movements, yes. Then we have environmental movements. So these are the different types of movements that you see in the society. This is something we'll understand as a broader pattern. What are the reasons for these movements to happen, and what is the nature? Which type of leadership these movements had? What was the driving reason, or what was the cause of these movements? What was the ideology based on which these movements happened, and what were the outcomes? What happened because of these movements? So that is something we study at a broader level, macro level. That is what constitutes social movements. In a way, this will be considerably helpful for your GS as well. It will be significantly overlapping with your modern history, the GS part. Then we have the last 2 units, which talks about population dynamics. The population dynamics, more or less what you are going to study here with respect to your census, is all part of population dynamics. What constitutes population? What all terms do you hear with population? Sex ratio, then yes, total fertility rate, TFR, yes, mortality rate, infant mortality, child mortality, then what else? Literacy rates, dependency ratio. These are all the terms that we understand. Whatever terms we have, migration, birth rate, death rate, all those terms we'll understand more clearly from the conceptual perspective. And here when we mean population dynamics, we also need to use little bit of data. This is like one exceptional unit where we will depend little bit more on data. So if you see, so far in none of the unit I stressed on data. This is one unit where you have to know little bit of data, because when we say sex ratio or when we talk about birth rate and all, you cannot write an answer without data. And here when you get a question, you don't have to hesitate also, because when we have done so many units which is all heavily theoretical and conceptual, you end up using so much of thinkers, so much of concepts. When it comes to this unit, it actually will be very easy, because most of the content that you use here will be already part of your GS. A lot of things you would have already studied in your social justice and other GS part also, but the challenge will be, you will be in the dilemma. How do I write a sociological answer? That is where you don't have to have that second thought, because this unit does not require too much of sociological content, because that is how the unit is. When we talk about birth rate or death rate, you cannot bring a sociologist there. You have to give the data to tell why we have high birth rate or why we have high death rate. So that is what this unit constitutes, population dynamics. Then we have the last unit, that is challenges in social transformation. Now this is like summing up all these units so far what we have discussed. So we talked about different types of changes that we are trying to bring, be it at the national level, at the village level, or at the city level, or with respect to the population dynamics. But everything is not always smooth. You come across hurdles. You take your case only. You decide to prepare for UPSC. Has the journey been very smooth? What are the hurdles that you have faced so far? Inconsistency in preparation, yes. Then time management, yes. Studying new subjects, getting used to new subjects becomes difficult, getting adjusted to new things. Then new teachers, okay, good. Then vast syllabus, so many things you face. Maybe one day it started raining heavily, you couldn't go to the class. Maybe one day the board was not working, class could not start on time. Maybe one day you wanted to study, you are not well. You had severe fever, you could not study. You see that there are so many challenges despite your best efforts. That is exactly what happens with society also. When you try and bring changes in the society, you see that there are challenges. It is not always smooth. And that is what we are going to study here. What are the different challenges society has in front of it? It can be in the form of gender, where we see that different types of violence faced by women, starting from the birth till their death, women face different types of violence. You talk about caste, you see caste conflicts, conflict based on caste. Even today, you see that there are caste based conflicts going on. People demanding for reservation, so many different problems. People still do not agree for intercaste marriage, caste conflict. You see that there is unsustainable exploitation. On one hand, we talk about development. On the other hand, there is unsustainable exploitation. What are the problems that you are seeing with developmental projects? Different developmental projects are there, right? Large scale mining activities, dam construction, road construction, etc. What problems it faces? Displacement of people, especially the rural people, the tribal people are being displaced. What else problem you see with these projects? Conflict between development and yes, more than national interest, we can say conservation, development versus conservation. Do you want to conserve the nature or do you want to exploit the nature? Do you want to cut down the trees and build a road or do you want to preserve the trees? That is the conflict people face, and we have multiple such challenges that we face in the society, and we'll understand all of them in detail. That is what this unit, challenges in social transformation, sums up. So that is what our syllabus of paper 1 and paper 2 sums up. Okay, so just take 2 minutes and try to once broadly skim through that. If you have any doubts, you can ask. More than doubts, you can say interesting questions if you have. Yes, online students, you have the chat box open. If you have any doubts, you can just text in the chat box. Yes. Social thinkers and positivists. So you can understand social thinkers as this. So this is social thinkers. Within this, part of this is positivists. That is how we can understand. So you can say all positivists are social thinkers, but not all social thinkers are positivists. Social thinkers means they are simply sociologists. They are trying to understand the society, just that the method varies. If they are positivists, they believe that we can use all the scientific methods and study the society. If they are non-positivists, they believe that we will still study the society, but it is not possible to exactly use all the scientific methods. We will try to combine different methods, non-scientific methods as well. That is what non-positivists do. End of the day, both of them study the society only, just that the method varies. If you look at the social thinker, the fourth unit, what we talked about, six thinkers, there is a combination of both. Some of them are positivists, some of them are non-positivists as well. Just that it is about the method that they use will differ. Topics will remain the same. They can study any topic. It is about the method that they follow. If they use scientific methods, they will be seen as positivists. If they use non-positivists, they will be non-scientific methods, they will be non-positivists. End of the day, both of them will be social thinkers. Yes. Yes, yes. Social classification, the division of society. Hmm. Okay. Hmm. See, what end of the day we have to do is, in that case, we have to exactly stick to the demand of the question. So more than telling about our view, or what is the expectation of the evaluator, the best thing is try to write according to the expectation of the question. Because in the question, when they ask the question, let's say the topic is the social division, it will have different directives. They will specifically ask, explain functional perspective of social stratification, explain conflict perspective of social stratification. They can ask, critically analyze social stratification. Sometimes they can ask, what in your opinion is social stratification, whether it is good or bad. So one simple thing you have to always do is stick to the demand of the question. If the question itself is asking you, explain functional perspective, we don't have to give the opinion or we don't have to give the conflict perspective. Only when they are asking you the opinion, what in your opinion is social stratification, is it good or bad, you have to convey your opinion. And in those cases also, what you will do is, whatever opinion you convey has to be conveyed with the help of sociologists. It should not be purely like our personal opinion. If it is conveyed simply as our personal opinion, like according to me, in my opinion, division is bad or division is good, that can lead to that subjectivity. Evaluator might take it other way. But what we will do is, in our answer writing approach, we will try to back our opinion with the theoretical backing. Like we will back our answer with the help of thinkers with different concepts, with the help of data. Then that answer will be accepted, irrespective of the opinion. As long as we justify what we tell, it will not be causing any harm. That is what we will be doing. Okay, and that is the best thing about this subject, because a lot of questions will be like subjective in nature. You cannot tell this is the only answer. There can be multiple answers right at the same time. What matters is how you are telling what you are telling. More than just what you are telling, it will come down to how you are telling. If you can tell whatever you are telling with the help of good backing, like meaning theoretical backing with the help of data and justification, your answer will never be rejected. It will be accepted. Any other doubts? You will definitely have a lot of more time also, not that only now in this 1 minute you should ask questions. It will keep coming, you have to keep asking. That will be the best thing about the classes. So now I will give you a broad idea about the pattern, paper pattern, how the paper looks like. Have you guys come across the paper, question paper? What is the pattern? Any rough idea? Yes? 8 questions are there. So we have a small change when it comes to GS papers. GS papers are also for 250 marks. Sociology paper is also for 250 marks. But in GS papers, you have especially GS 1, 2, 3 is for 250 mark, and you have 20 questions, 10 mark questions, 10 15 mark questions, and all 20 questions are compulsory. You don't have any choice. But when it comes to optional, there is a slight difference in the pattern. So what we have here is, we have two parts, like part A and part B. Okay. So how they have divided is, each part is worth 200 marks. So that becomes 400 altogether. In this 400 marks, you will be writing for 250 marks. So here what they have done is, they have given us 4 questions, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and here also you have 4 questions, that is 5, 6, 7, 8. So out of this 8, each question will be for 50 marks. First question 50 marks, second question 50 marks, third, fourth, everything will be 50 marks worth, and in this 8 questions you have to be choosing any 5. Okay, that is the condition. However, the condition is, this first question and 5th question are compulsory questions. You cannot be skipping these questions. This is the first condition, and second condition is, you have to choose minimum 1 question apart from 1 and 5 from both the sections. Meaning, out of these 3, you have to choose at least 1 question, and out of these 3, you have to choose at least 1 question. That is a compulsion. So that becomes altogether 4 for you. Now we have to write 1 more question. That is completely up to you. Whether you can write 2 questions here and 1 question here, or you can choose 2 here and 1 here. You can decide. Okay, but you can not write all the 3 from here and leave all the 3 here. or the other way also. You have to write one from each section, the other one will be up to you. But the thing is, when you have to choose one question, it is up to you. You can either choose 2 or 3 or 4. There is no compulsion. Only 1 and 5 are compulsions. Okay, is that clear? Now within this, how they have patterned is, in this first question you have 5 questions, A, B, C, D and E. Each of these are 10 mark questions, so that becomes 10 into 5 is equal to 50. The same thing you will see here also. The fifth question is A, B, C and D, E, meaning 5 questions are there. This is not like one single question, this is a set of 5 questions. The first question includes 5 10 mark questions, and all these 5 are compulsory, all these 5 are also compulsory. So altogether these 10 questions become compulsory. 10 into 10, 100 marks. In this 100 marks you don't have any choice, you have to write all the 10 questions. After that, when you see the other questions 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, here you have the pattern of A, B and C. This will be 20 marks, 20 marks and 10 marks. So altogether it will come to 50 marks. Only here in 1 and 5 you have 10 mark questions which are like 5 questions. In the remaining things 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, the pattern will be A, B, C, 20, 20, 10. Now the other compulsion is, let's say you have chosen second question, you cannot say from second question I will choose one and from the third question I will choose one more. That is not option. If you are choosing 2, you have to write all the 3. If you are choosing 3, you have to write all the 3. You cannot tell from 2 I will choose A, B and from 3 I will choose C. That option is not there. Whichever you choose, you have to write the whole set. That is the paper's pattern. Okay. So altogether you have 8 set of questions from which you have to choose 5 set of questions, which will together come to 250 marks. Okay, is that clear? This is the pattern that the UPSC has been following, and for writing this, if you want, just note down, because your GS papers are different pattern, optional will be different pattern. Any doubts in this pattern? Yes, all of you have noted. All of you have joined the Telegram group, Sociology. So from today we will be regularly posting, okay, like the syllabus, whatever we do in the class, whatever notes is there or whatever material I will be sharing, I will be giving the hard copy in the class, and for those who are attending online, I will be posting that in the group as well. And even for you people, if you want to have it in the form of soft copy also, it will be posted in the group. Okay. And one small advice is, before coming to the class, just have a look at the scheduling in the Telegram group. In the evening before the class, they will post the timing and venue. Okay, because we have multiple buildings and we want you to get familiar with all the buildings. Sometimes the classroom will be changed also, so you should be aware also. Mostly it will not be changing, classroom will be same, OGP 2 only. Sometimes let's say there is some technical issue, the board is not working, something like that, the classroom might be changed either to OGP 1 or OGP 6 like that. So just once before you come to the class, look what is the venue. Okay, timings will not change, it will be 7:30 to 10 only, but venue might change. Or sometimes if there is a late cancellation of class for some emergency purpose and all, it will be posted in the group. So you have to be aware. Apart from that, we will be using the group also for lot of things I will be posting there. Whatever it is, you will be getting in the group as well. So you just have to be active in the group as well. Okay. I'll share one or last year's paper also, 2025 paper, both paper 1 and paper 2. Have a look at it. This whatever I have told you now, you will get a better idea once you see the actual question paper itself. Okay. And tomorrow I'll be sharing, I'll be giving you the previous year questions. Like we have a compilation for both paper 1 and paper 2 from 2013 to 25. I'll be giving that for you, both paper 1 and 2, and I'll be posting that in the group as well. There I have made the compilation topic wise, like unit wise. Apart from that, we also have the year wise compilation also. If you want, I'll give that also. Okay. You will just keep that with you. You don't have to start writing answers or anything from tomorrow itself, but just start looking at the questions. Just start getting familiar. What type of words they are using, what type of questions, etc. Okay. Is noted. And what UPSC does is, for 10-mark questions, they give 2 sides, meaning 1 page, both the sides. Okay. And for 20-mark questions, we have 3 sides, not 4 sides. This is a good thing. If you see your GS papers, for 10-mark questions, you have 2 sides. For 15-mark, you have 3 sides. In optional, although the question is 20-mark worth, the number of sides they are going to give is 3 sides only. So what does that mean to you when they are giving 3 sides? Yes, you have to write precisely. You don't have to like write something for the sake of writing. What they want is quality answers. You can take time, think and write good quality answer. It's not about filling 4 pages or 3 pages. Write quality answer. That is what they mean. And see, this is one thing you have to be little bit careful about, because these patterns can change at times. And when UPSC changes, as they tell, UPSC is unpredictable, like unpredictable civil service is the other name for UPSC. If they change this pattern, they will not be telling you on changing. You will realize the change in the pattern when you sit in the exam hall and open the paper. That is how it happens. It's not like they change every year, but once in 5 years, 6 years, small changes can happen. Okay, I'll tell you my own experience only. When I wrote in 2016, 2016 was when I gave my first attempt, first mains also. So we had here 4 pages for 20 marks. We had 2 pages only. The question pattern was same only, 250 marks only. But in 2016, what they were doing is they were giving 4 pages for 20 marks, both for paper 1 as well as paper 2. But in 2019, what they did was, for paper 1, they gave 4 pages only. For paper 2, they made it 3 sides. First time they made a change, and this change was not informed earlier. What happened was, I wrote my first paper, like paper 1 sociology, writing 4 pages only. For second paper, I didn't open and see only how many pages are given. So I started writing the 20-mark question, assuming that there are 4 pages. For the first 20-mark question, when I wrote 3 pages and turned for the 4th page, there was no 4th page only. So that is when I realized they have changed the pattern and they have given 3 pages. So basically what I am trying to tell is, when you get the question booklet in the in the exam hall, it should not be like you simply start writing. First try to go through the whole question paper. Is there any change in the question pattern? Is there any change in the marking pattern? Is there any change in the number of pages? Then start writing. Okay, because you cannot be prepared for that, but at least you have to be aware in the exam hall. You should not do something blindly. Okay. Then when it came to 2023, they again changed the pattern, and from 23 onwards, we are having 3 sides for both paper 1 and paper 2. As of now, this is the pattern that we have. 10 marker, 2 sides, 20 marker, 3 sides. And as you can see here, the patterns don't change every year. It was changed in 2019, 23. Now we are in 2026. Probably it will be the same pattern for like at least 4-5 years. Once UPSC brings any change in pattern, it will remain for 4-5 years. After 4 years, 5 years, they bring the changes. Probably change might happen in 27 or not 27, mostly 28, 29. But you will never know. You have to give little bit of look at that also when you get the question paper. As of now, when we practice here, we will be practicing for this only. Okay, but this is something you have to be aware about. And then when it comes to class approach, so what are we going to do, or how are we going to do the classes? So one, obviously we'll be having classes regularly. whether you will come or not, I have to come, I will be coming. I don't have that luxury of online. You people have the luxury. The day when you are not feeling like going to class, when you wake up late, when you feel that I am having headache, you have the luxury to attend online. But I'll be here. My sincere suggestion will be, do come to the class regularly. Except in genuine cases, you can take it online, but otherwise try to come to the classes offline, because offline classes here will be lot more interactive. You will have that personal connect also. You will have more of that freedom, because in GS what happens is you have a much bigger classroom and the subjects are smaller. The subject faculty keeps changing. You will not be able to build that personal connect, and you will not feel like asking lot of questions and all, even when you want to ask. Here it will not be the case. I will be the one handling for your entire 4.5 months. So you will become more comfortable with me and your friends also. You will be able to understand and express yourself more better in the offline classes. You will have that eye-to-eye contact, one-to-one interactions. Suppose you didn't understand something, immediately you can ask here only. Online means what happens is you have to text in the chat box and I have to go and see there. When I am in the flow in the class, I will not be seeing the chat box regularly. So doubt clarification, these things become slightly difficult. So keep online as a luxury, not like a normal. Come to class on a daily basis regularly. We'll have the classes from 7:30 to 10, and how we are going to approach is, we'll start first with the concepts. We'll be giving maximum focus on understanding the concepts, where we'll take up multiple examples, both the standard examples, what the thinker has given, what you can be quoting in your answers, and day-to-day examples, which will help you to understand better. A lot of sarcastic examples also will be taking, which you will use it for understanding but not for writing in your answers. That is what we'll be doing, and we'll be having an active revision also. So everyday basis we'll be revising. So at the beginning of the class, we'll first revise what we had done in the previous day, like a small 10-minute revision. Then we'll be starting with the class. Suppose you had missed one topic or something happened, you can at least try to get a glance of that. We'll have the classes, and in the classes we'll be using multiple techniques, because the more variety we use, the better it will be for understanding. Otherwise it becomes monotonous. Myself, I'll be teaching maximum. Apart from me, we'll also be using little bit of images, a lot of videos we'll be using. To some extent we'll be using PPT also wherever it is necessary, and multiple techniques we'll be using. And when it comes to answer writing, one is we'll be doing answer writing on a regular basis. With every topic I'll be giving you practice questions. Okay, so practice question is something you will start from the beginning itself. You don't have to wait. Okay, and how I have designed is, at end of the day, no matter how much you study, how much you know, will not matter. What you write on the paper will matter. Whether you know well or not, if you cannot write, it will not matter. So what we'll do is, we'll do this answer writing in a phased manner. You cannot write a best answer on day one. You have to come to that best answer. So what we'll do is, we'll start with practice questions. So practice questions is something I'll be giving regularly with every topic, every concept we do. You will write this on a regular basis. Here the questions will be relatively simpler. So this is like kind of stage 1 of your answer writing. So when you study a particular topic, you will go back home, you will revise that concept. Only using the class notes or the material I'll be giving, you will write these answers. You don't have to do any extra research for these answers. Okay. Second, you will be having the tests. Like the test will not be on a weekly basis. This will be theme basis. Like after we complete 2 units, after we complete 3 units, after completing a small section of the portions, you will have the test. We will be having around 4 sectional tests and 2 full length tests. That is what we have in the structure, but that is only for the structure purpose of the classes. How many tests you want to write, you can write. I will be giving you how many questions you want to, how many tests you want to write, you can write. I will give you the question booklet as well. I will be checking them also. Okay, but this is what we have as per the design of the classroom program. Apart from this, after every unit, we will also be discussing the previous year questions in the classroom itself. After we complete each unit, we will do the PYQ discussion, then we will be going to the next unit. Preferably, we will try to take up the questions from 2013 to 2025, the last year. We will try to have a look at all the questions. What are the themes on which questions have come? What has been the nature of questions? How the question patterns are changing? how you are going to write the answer. We'll be doing the discussion also, and I will suggest you to write these answers once the discussion is also done. Because what happens is, to write the actual UPSC question, it requires certain amount of patience more than anything else, because some of the questions will be more broader in sense, like you have to link multiple units. Let's say we have a question on unit 6. Now although question has come from unit 6, you cannot be writing an answer only based on your unit 6 knowledge. It will be requiring little bit of your unit 5 knowledge, little bit of your unit 8 knowledge. At times you also have to link your paper 1 and paper 2. That linking also will be required, and in some cases you also have to link with the current affairs. So writing these PYQs will require much broader approach, which you will be able to do at the end of the units. Okay, so try to go in this order only: practice questions, tests, and PYQs. Okay, and one thing you have to do at any cost is writing answers. Okay, I can tell you how to write answer, but I cannot write on behalf of you. You only have to go and write in the exam hall, and if you have to write in the exam hall, here also you only have to be writing. I will not expect you to write any good quality answer. All I will expect is you to write answer. If you can write answer, making it a good answer is my responsibility. But for that you have to write answer. Otherwise, I can tell you how much ever I want. In this classroom, I can even bring some best answers of the toppers. I can show you from myself. I can tell you how to structure, how to write, everything I can do. But all those things will work only when you write. So that is one thing you should not be neglecting. Okay, and the best thing that you can do is start enjoying answer writing. Do not make it a burden on yourself. Answer writing should never be seen as a task. The day you see answer writing as a task, you will not do it. Your way of thinking should completely change. You have to start enjoying. The more answers you write, the more you have to enjoy. You should not be like, how will I even write this answer? Should I write even one more answer? This approach should not be there. Even if you can write one page, half a page does not matter. Whatever comes to your mind, you write, but you have to write. That is something you have to do from the beginning itself, not from today only. I'll tell you, first 2-3 classes will be about basics. Like tomorrow we'll start with certain basics. We'll get familiar with certain basic concepts, like terms that we are going to use regularly. After that we'll be starting with the first unit. So maybe for first 6-7 days you have that luxury to just come to the class, attend the class, go back and revise. But after that, slowly start writing. I will tell you which type of questions to write. I'll be giving the questions also. But you have to make sure you write those questions on a regular basis. Okay, and I want everybody to write, not only few people, because everybody are here to clear the exam, and everybody has the potential, and everybody has to write. It should not be like some of you are writing, some of you have the plan to write later. That later or tomorrow will never come. If you want to write today itself. Okay, that is the sincere advice. And apart from that, I will be available for mentorship also. I will be available in OGP1, the main building. Many of you have already met me multiple times. I will be available for everybody. After the classroom, usually I will be there. From 10:30 onwards, I will be there till 5 o'clock. You can come anytime. Just text me once before you come. If I am engaged with something else, I will just tell you the time. Okay, but do make sure you feel free. Whatever doubts you have, be it with respect to your optional or even with GS, I will be there. Even let's say you didn't understand something in class, you want me to explain you more in simple words, you can come to me. I can explain it to you one-to-one. You have some concerns with respect to answer writing, anything, planning your day, you have some problems which are not helping you to give time for this. If I can solve, I'll try solving them. Whatever it is, you can be free. Okay, that is going to be the class approach. And with every unit, what we are also going to do is, as I told you, we are going to use multiple thinkers in the answers. Remembering their names will be a little bit challenging. So that is where what I'll do is, after each unit, I'll be sharing what is called as mind maps. Have you guys used or come across mind maps? Mind map is basically for quick revision. So what we'll do is, I have like prepared for every unit. So since we are talking about the first unit itself, see, this is what mind map looks like broadly. Is it visible to everyone? So if you see here, this unit, stratification and mobility, these are the different topics that we have. With each of the topic, we will be having different thinkers whom we will be using. At the end of the day, you will have this challenge. How do I remember the thinker? For which concept, which thinker I should be using? So I'll be giving these mind maps, okay, which will help you. Here, seeing so many thinkers, do not get overwhelmed. It's not like all these thinkers are completely new. In this list of thinkers, around 50 to 60% of the thinkers will be repeat thinkers. The same thinkers, if you see here, whichever thinker you take, Max Weber, Andre Beitel, Stuart Hall, so most of the thinkers will be using in multiple units. So once you understand about them, it will be like kind of repeat. They become easier. Okay. So this is something you will use it for your quick revision, last moment revision. This one whole one page will help you to revise the whole unit in like 5 minutes, provided you have done the unit and you have revised them well. Okay. This is something I will be sharing with every unit at the end of the unit. Same will be the case with the theories as well. With each of the theories, whatever we study, I will be giving you the mind maps as well. And with respect to the notes, it will be a combination of both. Some of the things, whatever has to be dictated, I will be dictating in the class itself. You will be taking down the notes in the class only. Whatever is kind of like static part, which do not change regularly, I will be giving in the form of printout. I will be posting the soft copy in the portal as well, and I will be giving the printout here also. So your total notes will be combination of both the class notes plus the printed notes. What you have to do is you have to stick to that. That is the first thing you have to do, because see, when it comes to optional sociology, you have n number of books in the market. What I will suggest is, it's not like whatever notes I give is like the best notes which will help you to become a sociologist. But what I can guarantee you is that whatever notes I give you will be helping you to prepare well for this exam. What is required for this exam will be there in your notes. And you have to, if at all you want to do any value addition, let's say you want to refer to a particular book, you are most welcome. You can refer to different books. I will be suggesting you the books also. But this is not the time. This is the time where you have to make your basics strong. So for that, stick to the classes. One is sleep well. Sleep well and come to the class fresh, because classes will be in the morning. It should not be like you studied till 2:33 and did not have good sleep or sufficient sleep. You come to the class and sleep here. That should not happen. So sleep well, come fresh to the class. That is the first thing you can do. And as much as possible, try to learn everything with curiosity. It should not be like you are studying for this exam. Take that exam out of your mind. Only then you can study with curiosity. It should not be like always you should not be thinking of how much marks question can come. How will I write an answer? That is the secondary thing. First thing you have to do when you come to class is come with a free mind. Just come here to learn something. Answer writing, getting marks, all those will happen eventually by the process. Your aim should not be to score marks. Your aim to come to class is to understand things. The better you understand, automatically the better you will be writing the answers. Okay. So have sleep, come with good open mind and curiosity, and be interactive in the class. Try to be as interactive as possible. How much ever questions you want to ask, feel free. Ask questions, learn. The whole learning process has to happen in the class. It should not be like I explained something, you did not understand, you want to just go home, read the notes and learn. Learning has to happen here. Revision will happen in your home. That is how the approach has to be. Okay. So be regular to the classes, attend on a daily basis as much as possible. Only in genuine case, use the online mode. Otherwise, be regular to offline classes itself. Okay. So that is how the classes will be going on. We'll be having regular classes from Monday to Saturday. In exceptional cases, whenever we have some tests or something like that, Saturdays will be tests or off for you. Okay. Will that work? Monday to Saturday. And from now, you just have to guarantee me this 4 hours of yours. You have 24 hours in your day. 20 hours is for you, whatever you want to do. This is for me. You have to give this for me. We are in the month of May till December, maximum Jan 15th. This is our deadline. You are in the right time, especially if you are preparing for 2027. Till here, this time you have to keep it apart for me. That is sociology. Even after the classes, lot of people, what I have seen is in the earlier batches and all, they will be very regular to classes. But after the class, they stop doing optional. That is not you should be doing. even after the class till here you have to keep the same time, preferably stick to the same time, morning time only, 7:30 only, and keep the same 4 hours for optional. Rest of the day use it for your GS preparation. You have to balance. Somewhere try to bring your total time in a day for 12 hours, do it slowly, use this 8 hours for your GS, 4 hours for your optional. If you can do that, I can tell you that you will be ready with your optional before your prelims. Okay, whatever is required for that, material, understanding of the concepts, answer writing, those things will be my responsibility, but giving this time should be from your side. Okay, yes, any doubts or anything you want to ask? Current affairs ಎಷ್ಟು percentage relevant ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ. See, when it comes to questions, I'll give you a broad idea. You will have 4 type of questions broadly. Okay, so one will be purely conceptual questions. So when it is purely conceptual question, you need minimal of current affairs, because this is directly concept. Let's say there is a concept given by Karl Marx. The question asks, explain this concept. There you would need more or less zero current affairs. You just have to know the concept well. You have to write the concept properly. So this question does not require. Second is, they ask us critical analysis questions. So when they mean critical analysis, you have to be explaining the concept plus doing the analysis also. Is that theory relevant? To what extent that theory is relevant? What are the criticisms? Because whenever we study about any theory and all, it's not like that theory is universal. It's the perspective of that thinker. It can have criticisms also. Let's say given theory, it need not be that my theory is 100% true. It can have criticisms. That is where you see that a lot of these theoretical questions, whatever Marx has told, whatever Durkheim has told, etc., they will have the criticisms also. So when they ask critical analysis, these questions also require the conceptual clarity only, concept plus criticisms. The third type of question is, one, they ask contemporary relevance. So what do we mean by this word contemporary relevance? How much it is relevant in the present day. Whatever concept we have studied, whatever theories we have studied, because these theories were given long time back. Marx gave his theory around 1850s. Today we are in 2026. How many years has it been? More than 170 years, 175 years. It need not be always true. So that is where they ask you contemporary relevance. How much that theory given by that thinker is relevant in the present day. This is where you have to be bringing your current affairs. Current affairs meaning you have to take the examples to prove that that concept or theory is relevant. If relevant, to what extent, and which part of that is not relevant in the present. This will be doing in the class only. I'll be explaining. Okay. Fourth is, they will give you questions purely from current affairs. So for example, there can be a question on, all of you have come across this, right? MG Narega was replaced by VB G Ramji. Now VB G Ramji has nothing to do with sociology syllabus. In syllabus they have not mentioned VB G Ramji anywhere, but it can be a question. This becomes purely current affair questions. So this, now if you see here, these two areas requires minimal effort or knowledge of your current affairs, and nearly 60 to 70% of the questions will be of this nature. The other two type of questions is where you have to bring current affairs. In this question it will be more conceptual, but you have to back your answer with current affairs. This question will be purely current affairs. You have to make this answer sociological. Okay, these things will be doing slowly. As we do each of the topic, I will be explaining in the class only how to use which concept in which current affair questions, how to handle current affair questions and all, but I am giving you an idea how the current affair based questions can come in the exam. Okay, and this is something you will see mainly in paper 2. Paper 1, most of the questions will be of this nature. Purely current affair questions will be maximum 2 to 3, not more than that. But in paper 2 you will see more questions of this nature, because it says Indian society, and you saw that the third section says social changes in India, where it is more dynamic. There you will be expecting little bit more of current affair questions. For these questions, in terms of the current affair sources, there is no need for any new source. Whatever sources you are following for your GS, whatever newspaper you are reading, that only will be the source. Only thing is you have to start using that from the sociological perspective. Okay, this is something we will be doing actively in the class only. With every topic we do, I will be taking the current affair examples, day-to-day examples also, and even when we discuss the questions, I will be explaining you how to write from the sociological perspective or how to take examples for the questions. Okay, so overall you can say the requirement of current affairs will be somewhere around 20 to 25%, not more than that in the syllabus, total subject. Okay, and that too when the questions are of this nature, not these two nature. You also have to know where to bring current affairs, where not to bring, because some people think that I have to bring current affairs, they start bringing everywhere. That is also not good. You have to also know where to bring, where not to bring. What is the demand of the question, how to write the answer. When it is conceptual question, you have to have good conceptual clarity, explain the concept well. When it is current affairs based question, you have to bring current affairs in your answers. So these things and all we will be doing slowly. This is like a continuous process, not a one-day effort. Throughout the 4.5 months, we will be doing this on a regular basis. You also have to be doing it on a regular basis along with the classes. Okay. Any other doubts? Yes. Even if you have doubts, if you get doubts later also you can ask me. We will be having classes on a daily basis anyway. It's not like today is the last class. Today is our first class. So feel free to ask doubts, and only thing is you have to be a little bit disciplined, because we'll have the classes in the morning. Waking up in the morning is not an easy thing. How many of you like waking up early in the morning? Very few. So most of you have familiarity with me. Even I am somebody who does not like waking up in the class, but that is something you have to do. That is how the life goes. When you have to really improve or you want to become a better person, you have to start venturing into the uncomfortable zones. You cannot always be in your comfort zone. To tell honestly, in my entire preparation phase, I have never woke up for consistently 4 months before 7 o'clock. With the classes only, when the classes started, morning batches, I have started waking up. So that is something you have to do. Try coming out of your comfort zone. If you are not comfortable writing answers, start writing answers. If you are not comfortable talking in the class, asking doubts, start asking doubts. If you are not comfortable talking in English, start talking. Whatever you are not comfortable, start doing that. That is the best thing you can do to become a better person. Okay. So tomorrow we will meet again. We will start with the basic concepts. Tomorrow we will do, probably it will take 2 classes to become familiar with the basic concepts that we have in sociology. We will understand what is society, what is culture, what is norms, values, all these concepts, and after that we will be starting with the first unit. Okay. Thank you guys.